The January 27th edition of Time magazine says, "Can anyone stop Hillary?" A giant boot of Hillary coming down to crush all her political opponents. And so the question is posed, who can stop this behemoth? Now, why exactly, what makes our friend Hillary Clinton the front runner already? And the answer is, perception is reality. That Time magazine cover is the first salvo into establishing Hillary Clinton as the mainstream media's narrative front-runner candidate. Now, I don't know about you, maybe you don't want Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States. 2014 is the year where they will be setting up the primary races for 2015. So we've already seen in recent months Sarah Palin in the news. We've seen Chris Christie, we've seen Jeb Bush. There is your Republican panel, as well as Rand Paul, and we'll discuss Rand Paul in just a second. And on the Democratic side, we have Hillary Clinton, who her monstrous boot coming down out of the sky of Time magazine has already declared she is the front runner. She's the Bilderberg endorsed candidate to take over for Barack Obama. Now, for anyone thinking, and this is We Are Change, you probably already know all of this, but for anyone thinking that there is independent presidential candidates, they want the whole field. They want every horse in the field. And so they're not just going to establish Hillary as the front runner, they're going to establish alternatives. They're going to have Coke and they're going to have Coke Zero. So Elizabeth Warren will be the number 2, the Agassi to Sampras of Hillary Clinton. She'll be established as most likely the other candidate. Oh, she's even more liberal than Hillary Clinton. But when you look at her record on foreign policy, Elizabeth Warren is actually someone that is for sanctioning Iran, and we know that sanctioning does nothing but lead to death of the poor and the innocent. So Elizabeth Warren, for those thinking she is the liberal savior of the Democratic Party, she is Hillary Clinton in a different pantsuit. There is no difference between Elizabeth Warren or Hillary Clinton, just as there's no difference between Hillary Clinton and Chris Christie, or Chris Christie and Sarah Palin and Jeb Bush. These are all different brands established by the same corporations. So 2016 is coming up very soon. We are right now in March of 2014. The reason this is the biggest story is because this is the time where you have an opportunity to actually choose the next president. If you don't decide right now who you want for president, then it's going to be chosen for you by the mainstream media narrative that's already projecting boots out of the sky, giant Hillary Clinton boots. She's already won. Well, if you don't want that, you have 2 years right now to change the message. So let's go ahead and take a look at the field, who we have besides Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, Sarah Palin, and Rand Paul. Now let's stop just a second on Rand Paul, because obviously the son of Ron Paul who introduced a lot of freedom-loving ideas to a lot of people. I had a Ron Paul bumper sticker on my car. Myself, I voted for him as the most likely independent candidate to win office in 2007. But let's take a closer look at what Ron's done lately. When you take a look back at the last election, Ron Paul was extremely popular in the Republican primaries, and we saw evidence that he was actually being cheated out of various primaries. So what did we do from there? As Ron Paul's election ramped up, he had the chance to really make a break from the Republican Party, stand up and say, it looks like I'm being cheated out of these primaries. I'm not going to run as a Republican. I'm going to run as an independent. Create a giant news story because the mainstream media was really following Ron Paul at the time. Instead, on the same day that Ron Paul came out of the election and announced, I'm not going to be going forward with my campaign, I'm quitting the campaign, Rand Paul endorsed Mitt Romney.
But now that the nominating process is over, tonight I'm happy to announce that I'm going to be supporting Governor Romney.
Now, some people look at this play as a way to move inside the system, to change the system from the inside. Rand Paul, he's just playing the game. He's just playing the Republican game, getting Republican support so that he can win the Republican candidacy and then actually do real libertarian, freedom-loving things once he's in office. But I don't look at things that way. And the best evidence that you can see that Rand Paul is not the champion of freedom that we might think he is, you look no further than We Are Change. Luke Rudkowski and Abby Martin went to ask real questions to Rand Paul. He treated them like the dirt beneath his feet, tried to have Abby Martin's journalistic credentials revoked, tried to have her fired from Russia Today.
This is Luke Rudkowski here, reporting on yet another incident of the suppression of the free press. This time, it's of a U.S. Senator trying to get a journalist fired for asking him tough questions. Hey, Senator Paul. My name is Luke of We Are Change. We had an interesting conversation before about the Bilderberg Group, and knowing what you know, how can you support Mitt Romney when The Guardian reported he was at the Bilderberg meeting?
Hey, Rand. Abby Martin from Media Roots. I just wanted to ask you one quick question. You know, your endorsement for Mitt Romney, people have a lot of questions about it.
Now, the video was a really big hit online, but the most interesting part of the story happened after the video was already up. Abby, can you tell us exactly what happened to you after that video went online?
After that week passed, the next week, I went into the studios, went into RT America, and my boss said, you know, come in to our office, we need to talk to you. And they just said, you know, what did you do last week, and why are we getting threatening phone calls from the Capitol Police and also the Senate Media Relations Committee at the Capitol building? And I just told them exactly what happened. I showed them the video. I said that it was totally unaffiliated with RT America, and they said that this guy was calling them saying that they were going to send the Capitol Police down there to arrest me, threatening to strip not only me of my press credentials, but everyone at the station of their press credentials.
And so when I see a person treating people like that, in my heart, I can't believe that Rand Paul would truly be for the people when he won't even treat a person with human dignity. And so for everyone that might get fooled into thinking Rand is the son of Ron and he's got a real chance right now, the chance that I, in my heart, think Rand has is the chance to be the next Obama, fooling even more people into thinking that he really stands for something. So in 2016, we can't be fooled in thinking that a candidate is going to do something and he's not. We can't go through that again. So if you don't want Hillary Clinton boots out of the sky, don't be fooled into taking someone that's not actually any different than Hillary Clinton. So when we take a look at the independent field of candidates, who's really running, and we're excluding Rand Paul, the biggest candidate that has a media presence that you'll see on CNN, on MSNBC, and that will actually take positive action is Jesse Ventura.
Jesse, in a nutshell, what would your ideas for your presidential campaign be? The main ones.
Simple. My main one would be to give the American people the opportunity to elect a president since George Washington who does not belong to one of these political parties. Allow the people to pick their president. The people don't pick the president now. These two political parties pick your president. They decide who you're going to get to vote for. If I ran as a complete independent, the people of the United States could vote for me, and it wouldn't be decided by these two political gangs, because they're the ones that give you the two choices. So in essence, you have no choice.
Now, Jesse Ventura, for those of us that have pure libertarian ideals and feel that the only way to go is pure libertarianism, well, my friends, we can't let a wedge issue divide us. We have to be united. If everybody that is awake is going to do anything to make any kind of impact, we can't have 1,000 fractions of the third party, of the people who are awake. We can't have, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, the Constitutional Party. If we fracture ourselves 100 times over, we're not united, you lose. There's only two parties, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. If you want a third party, you can actually defeat the mainstream who's divided, because they're dividing themselves into Democrat and Republican. If we all unite under one banner, there's an actual chance in 2016 to get something done. And so, this is We Are Change News. I want to bring you real perspectives and real newsy type things, but the modern media is such that everybody's editorializing. Here it is playing out in the open. This is an important issue, the 2016 election. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to sit by? Are we going to let, Time Magazine and ABC and Fox and CNN and MSNBC tell us that Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren and Jeb Bush and Chris Christie and Rand Paul are the front runners? or do you want to actually pick someone that actually represents you? So a lot of people, what they'll say about Jesse, you know, besides the fact that they love he's going to actually bring the troops home, they love that he would actually legalize marijuana to the extent that the president can, and that's to a great extent considering the president controls the DEA, you know, and can pardon people. So that's very powerful what Jesse Ventura could do as president. You know, they'll say, oh, but he's a conspiracy theorist. He's crazy. How could he possibly win? And the answer to that is, who cares what kind of name somebody is calling a presidential candidate? Okay? You can call Hillary Clinton a bunch of names. You can call Jeb Bush a bunch of names. Name calling means nothing. Image is nothing. Alright? Substance is what matters. And when you look at the policies of every single candidate, the liberals are not going to agree with Hillary Clinton. The conservatives are not going to agree with Marco Rubio or Chris Christie. They're not going to like the candidates that they're being offered. And what we've seen in the last 8 years, there's plenty of proof positive Obama is not a liberal. There's plenty of proof Bush is not a conservative. If we can have a united third party behind a candidate that actually gives you the things that you want, bringing home the troops for a foreign policy, legalizing marijuana and saving the government billions of dollars domestically, just for a start, you know, actually taking back the government for the people, if we can unite everyone under one banner, you're going to attract the people that are only voting for Hillary because they hate the Republicans. You're going to attract the people that are only voting for the GOP because they hate Hillary. You're going to attract these people away from this negative, false, illusionary paradigm, and you're going to bring them to the third party. And so, the biggest story that I can bring you right now to start off, kick off the new We Are Change series, is a combo news editorial segment where I'm letting you know right now the 2016 election is right here in front of us, and you can either do nothing and let Hillary get elected, or you can take positive steps to unite behind the candidate. Now I'm saying Jesse Ventura. If you don't like Jesse Ventura, this is a free country, right? So who do you want to see? Who is the independent candidate that can actually get on TV, get in the debates, and win an election for the people? So that's the question for everybody. You know, go ahead, fill up the comments, check out wearechange.org. Fill up the stories and say, who do you want to see in 2016 and where should we be following our election coverage? It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's not Superman. What was that trail of cloud up in the sky? Well, according to Dr. Russell L. Blaylock, now, the major concern he has is that they've been spraying tons of nano-sized aluminum compounds. It's been demonstrated in scientific and medical literature that nanosized particles are infinitely more reactive and induce intense inflammation in a number of tissues. Of special concern is the effect of these nanoparticles on the brain and spinal cord, as a growing list of neurodegenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's disease, and Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS, are strongly related to exposure to environmental aluminum. Nanoparticles of aluminum are not only infinitely more inflammatory, they also easily penetrate the brain by a number of routes. So this goes on and on, his article on what we're seeing out of chemtrails. You know, you might ask yourself, why would they be spraying aluminum oxide or strontium or barium on people? Now the answer of why, you know, we can get very deep and dark on why they would want to poison, or who would want to poison all of society. But the reality is, let's deal first with talking to people about what is this, because that's a great way to wake people up. When it comes to chemtrails, there's evidence right there in the sky. It's not a contrail. We've just seen, you know, the spray dissipating in the sky. It's not the contrail. It's some billowy cloud that's being purposefully released. And so we actually have another video. This was an interview done by Jakari Jackson that we're going to link you to with an Air Force whistleblower, Kristen Kirsten Megan actually worked at an Air Force base where she was responsible for all of the chemicals that could be hazardous coming onto the base. And so she's the person that saw videos of, oh, this is crazy, the chemtrails, and she didn't believe it. And then she actually saw on her Air Force base barium, strontium, aluminum oxide coming onto the base, and taking soil samples herself and realizing, there's poison being put into the environment. And so when we're talking about waking people up and actually sharing with people information, you can't push people too far. They can only accept a little bit at a time. But when you can point them to hard evidence and make them ask the question, well, what is that? What is it? They don't have an answer. You can show them the evidence, let them decide for themselves. And so chemtrails, for me, it's a story that's been broken over and over again, and we're going to link you to information that gives you all the details on how dangerous it is and on how pervasive it is and how real it is. But the main thing for me, this is We Are Change. You people already understand what the story is. I think the takeaway from chemtrails is that it's a very easy story that you can share with other people and starting to wake them up, rather than just dousing them with a cold bucket of water and saying 9/11's an inside job. That's not going to work on all people. So let's go ahead and take a look at some video.
Well, part of my job in bioenvironmental engineering was to approve hazardous materials that came on the base. I sat at a computer and I approved those hazardous materials on base and tied them to a process and a building. So when I started approving what is called an Air Force Form 3952, the approval of hazardous materials, and I started seeing barium, aluminum oxide, and strontium come on the base from a contractor whose name was not listed, which was not normal, I started to realize that those crazy tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorists might not be so crazy. I lived about less than a mile behind the flight line at Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma, in Oklahoma City. And due to my background as an industrial hygienist and an environmental specialist, I conducted soil grade sampling and grade sampling. Those of you who may not be too privy to chemistry, you know that there's natural elements occurring in Earth. Aluminum is one of them. However, barium, radioactive, and strontium are not. So I conducted those samples and saw limits in my community that would make your head spin. And I started to realize that those peers within my professional community that were trying to wake those of us in the military up were right.
Dr. Russell Blaylock is on today. Doc Blaylock, how you doing, man?
Doing very good. Appreciate the invitation.
The main reason I got you on the program was your recent article about the nano-aluminum particles in the chemtrails, and I think it's just so important that people understand what's going on here. So could you tell me what got you interested in this, and what started you writing this this recent paper?
Well, the connection has been the aluminum in the vaccines. I wrote several articles about the effect of the adjuvants in vaccines, including the mercury and the aluminum effect. Then I found some articles about the chemtrails, and there was a lot being said about it, and I wasn't too sure whether it was true or not, because in my state we rarely saw them. But as I started looking on the internet, and I would see these states in which there were these crisscross patterns, and they were very tight patterns, and these geometrical shapes, where it was obviously it was a purposeful covering of the atmosphere with reports are coming out now that what they're spraying is nano-size aluminum, and the idea is the whole concept of preventing global warming. And they nano-size the aluminum so it'll stay in the upper atmosphere longer, supposedly as a reflective compound, metal. The problem with that, even from a climatologic description, is that if you make it into cirrus-like clouds rather than reflecting it upward and out of the atmosphere, it reflects the heat downward and actually causes global warming. So you could envision that they're doing this on purpose to make the atmosphere heat up so they can see the atmosphere is warming up. But what I'm concerned about mainly is the medical effect, and that's because of this very strong connection between aluminum passing through this pathway into the brain is so strongly connected with Alzheimer's disease and other diseases of memory. If you're aerosolizing this and spraying literally tons of it over the world, and people are constantly breathing that aerosolized nano-size aluminum, which will easily penetrate filters in your air-conditioned system, enter your home. So you're breathing it 24 hours a day.
To take action on the things that you heard in this video, because we don't want to just listen, hear all this information, well, now what do I do with it? I've learned, what am I going to do? So some simple actions that you can take, you can actually petition to get somebody on the presidential ballot. So as far as Jesse Ventura, whether you like him or not, if you don't want the big boot coming out of the sky in 2016, you can petition right now to actually go ahead and get someone that you support on the presidential ballot. And that's just one simple action that you can take. We're going to have more developed ideas in future episodes so that this isn't just a news show. It's something interactive that you can actually take something away from it and actually go ahead and implement it in your community. So besides that, we have the entire video of Milton Hunter, a whole 10-minute plus video of him unedited, going and telling you about gold, silver, the future of the dollar, and how you can protect your own savings. We're going to have that if you click the button right here in this video. And I appreciate your time. It's been great. We Are Change News, Episode 2, coming at you soon. It's going to be a nice mix of hard news, me going off the cuff, me editorializing, and hopefully lots of viewers like you giving us the big microphone to really wake people up. Till next time. What is quantitative easing, and what's the effect on the dollar of quantitative easing going forward?
Well, QE, basically, from Wikipedia, is the unconventional monetary policy used by central banks to stimulate the economy when standard monetary policies have become ineffective. So it started on the heels of the financial crisis in 2000.